Hello, RPG Limit Break. Welcome to another Dragon Warrior Randomizer tournament for the summer of 2019. We have a good one in store for you, jkoper versus Highspirits. And I am Lorgon. Our restreamer tonight is Lord of the Synth. Our tracker is Janice Zeal. And I will be joined here in the booth by sigmafan. How are you doing today, Sigma?
I'm doing alright. This should be a fantastic race that we're going to have going, Lorgon, and it's going to be quite interesting with this race, I do believe.
Yeah, both of these racers are very good, very experienced races for Dragon Warrior. And just looking at their starting stats on this one, starting with 11 strength and 12 agility, their hit points are a little bit low, but this should be kind of a pretty average kind of start. And these racers are both so good that unless the monsters are really awful, I think we'll probably get off to a pretty quick start on this one. We will see.
Pretty much, but we have to make note of the plus signs right next to the stats. If you notice, both of them are doing a strength hit point build. They'll start with lower strength and hit points at the start, but at the end, they'll be much higher than they would if you would run like a strength agility build or something to that effect.
Yeah, and Dragon Warrior Randomizer, you have the option of kind of favoring 2 of the 4 stats, and toward the end of the game, the other 2 stats will only kind of be 90% as high as they normally would, but their strength and hit points toward the end of the game will be their full kind of 100% of what they need. This is indeed a 3-0 match. Both of these guys 3-0, and like I said, both top racers. Highspirits is definitely one of the very best. jkoper is still very good and very experienced in Dragon Warrior Randomizer, even if his SRL rating is not quite as high. But let's get started.
Yep, so sit back, relax, and strap it down. Dragon Warrior Randomizer here on RPG Limit Break. Let's see what we got in the chest. We start out with an herb, some gold, and the magic key. Outside does not work. If you want to save that key, you need to return or be able to get wings in the chest.
Indeed. So no extra starting key for the runners, but that is fine. It looks like Highspirits is choosing to save with the king with his starting gold, but it's not probably going to matter because there are towns visible outside. jkoper is immediately headed to one of them. He got a very good gold roll, and if there is a town where he could buy a hand axe, that could get him off to an even faster start on this particular seed. And sure enough, he makes it into the town, but it's Hawksness.
The game. You are a troll.
There are a number of towns that contain shops and inns, but then there's one broken town, Hawksness, that just contains monsters, and that's the one that's visible at the start. So perhaps the players won't immediately be able to spend their starting gold, but Highspirits is immediately able to kill a couple of enemies to get the next level up, and it includes 10 power and 14 hit points, and so already he is going to be significantly stronger, should be able to handle the monsters right around the castle fairly easily.
Right, and we have stereo level ups, and it looks like jkoper has found a tablet cave,
and so without any source of light, he is going to choose to nope right out of there. But yeah, I don't remember the last time I saw a seed where there were 3 locations practically on screen right at the start. We had Hawksness, what we presume is Tablet Cave, and then there was Swamp that they outsided into the back of Garenham. Is that what I just saw happen, or what happened there?
No, I think it was just a little bit outside.
Got it. Okay, so Garenham is just a little ways off. All of a sudden, I realized that Highspirits was there already. So, yeah, just intense in terms of all the things. It looks like Highspirits managed to pick up some leather armor in the shop at Garenham. It's also filling up on some herbs.
No, wait, there's Garenham right there. Sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, so it was just a little bit farther to the north. Wow. And he bought a bamboo pole, chat is saying. And he did, Highspirits also got the dragon scale, which he's just gone ahead and equipped. And so not the best possible things available for them to buy with their starting gold. But it seems like both runners are going to get all that kind of basic starter equipment right here. And since Garanham is here and has a locked door in the back, just like Tanagel, keys have become all the more important. Once the runners find keys, they'll have access to 2 more basement dungeons and 7 more chests, 4 in Tanagel and 3 in Garanham.
Right, and they're hoping to find anything right now. Since that's the grave, what I fully expect some of these racers to do is go in for Torch and seek out those 3 chests. Meanwhile, Highspirits gets to level 3, 17 power, 6 speed, 8 hit points, 7 magic, and a new spell of heal. That is big for level 3.
Indeed. I could imagine Highspirits potentially trying to grind out 1 more level. It would not take very long to do so, and hopefully could give him some more agility. Right now, agility is only 19 at level 3, and oh yeah, the skeleton with Dragon Lord 2 Breath is an unfortunate thing to run into. With a little bit more agility, they're probably going to run into 1 or 2 monsters inside of the grave before they'd be able to get to any treasure chests.
Yeah, the Red Dragon.
Oh my goodness. So they may need some luck. It might not just be agility. It might just be encounter luck that's going to be... Oh, it's actually Mountain Cave. Highspirits just lit it up. Mountain Cave appears to be the cave that's down there. And so the good news is all 5 chests will be available, not just the top 3 in the grave, before getting a key. The bad news is more steps to walk to get to all of those chests. So we'll see how far Highspirits manages to get.
The first one's a replacement Torch. Droll Magi can, breathes fire, but it's baby breath, and is able to get away. So that's big for Highspirits because the stairs to the 2nd level is right there. There's a quick chest down south if he's able to get it, but unfortunately runs into a red dragon. Whoa, stop spell, but can't get away.
Alright, so the red dragons at least have some nice aspects. Meanwhile, jkoper is choosing just to do some more exploring, and there's yet another town a little bit farther to the north. This is incredible. We've already seen 5 locations within about 1 screen away from the castle. Yeah, just a crazy, crazy start to this one.
And jkoper's also run into a warlock. That should be good eats for them, especially with 39 strength.
Yeah, the strength score is doing well. jkoper had already leveled up to level 4, only still a few more agility, but every little bit is going to count when jkoper finally does try to go into Mountain Cave. But we'll get a look at what this town is going to be. But level 5, 14 more strength. The runners, despite the fact they're fighting with bamboo poles, will actually be able to kill the monsters in zones 0, 1, and 2 fairly easily. And the town is Remolder. They're going to be able to buy keys.
Yep, and knowing that jkoper has been doing a lot more grinding, decided to nope out of the Mountain Cave when running into that red dragon. He's gonna have a nice little bit of advantage. Meanwhile, we look at Highspirits. He's got warlocks have hurt more. jkoper was lucky to avoid that little nasty blot, so to speak.
Indeed. But it looks like
have access.
Sorry, yeah. It looks like he's going to have access to the Tanagel treasury, and he's making a beeline right back there to go open 4 more treasure chests.
And not only that, the back half of Garanham as well, so that's 3 more treasure chests, and both of them have a cave below. It could be Swamp, or it could be the Trade Caves. The Silver Heart Cave and the Jerk Cave. I guess we should explain to everybody how this little randomizer works.
Yeah, I'll do that in just a second. It looks like there were 2 keys, an herb, and a wings in the Tanagel treasury, so it doesn't look like there's necessarily going to be a gold grind immediately available. But yeah, in Dragon Warrior Randomizer, you need to collect a number of plot items, the Silver Harp, the Stones of Sunlight, and Erdrick's Token in order to create the Rainbow Drop. And in order to do that, you have to talk to some old men. Speaking of old men, jkoper has found the 3rd old man in the basement of Tanagel, who has a free chest. This one just has fairy water. So the bad news for the runners is there's no gold available in Tanagel Castle, and so there'll be no easy gold grind for the runners to set up to get lots of money.
jkoper looks like knows at the bottom is Tablet Cave, decides not to dive, but he's saving that for later just in case he runs out of options again.
We've had so many locations that it's really hard for me to keep up. Meanwhile, Highspirits is still not having the best of luck trying to fight the monsters diving there. It's going to be interesting since he knows there are some chests there that might have a key. It's very tempting just to go back in there. But if he happens to go a couple more steps to the north, he might end up seeing the other town and discover that it's Remolder, and he can just get his keys right there. But in the
jkoper
meantime,
finds the stones of sunlight, a torch, and more fairy water in the back half of Garen. I guess now he's gonna dive this little cave right here. Could it be a trade cave? Could it be the grave, vanilla grave? It is top half of the swamp cave.
Indeed. So the swamp cave has two entrances, a north entrance and a south entrance. jkoper in the dark is traveling from north to south, and this will bring him somewhere else on the map, potentially to a second continent on the randomized overworld map here in Randomizer. So we'll see where he pops out, if there's any more locations very close by.
No, but we got a welcoming committee and a red scorpion and a rogue scorpion to send him back.
Dragon Lord Two Breath. That's basically going to one-shot the players for probably quite a while yet. We're only less than 10 minutes into the match. It's probably going to be a while before they'll be able to deal with enemies like that. So the good news is there's lots of locations and things for the players to go after. The bad news is there's been some really tough enemies, both down in the caves as well as on the other side of the swamp.
And it looks like Skeleton has heal more, which is not good, so it'll take a couple of hits to take that one down.
And in the meantime, I'd lost track of if Highspirits had grabbed a torch anywhere or something. It looks like now Highspirits is maybe going to be content just to try to grind a little bit more. Nope, he's going down into Mountain Cave once again, and it looks like he's just going to try to traverse through it in the dark.
And jkoper gets himself level 6, power 8, speed 15, no hit points, but 15 magic. That is going to help out a lot. And as you know, with a 0 level, you know Empty Eye is out there laughing.
Indeed. Those 0 hit points are pretty unfortunate because their hit points still are not particularly great. jkoper again, though, got good luck. He managed to run into a wolf on the first floor of Mountain Cave, which is a very good enemy, one that he was able to kill and that was worth 40 experience. Meanwhile, Highspirits has had a little bit more rotten luck in terms of the random monsters that he's encountered. There's 5 monsters that you could potentially encounter in any given zone in Dragon Warrior Randomizer.
Yep, and so far we've seen in this cave, we've seen a wolf, a drakey, a red dragon, and a warlock. And jkoper's strength is so high enough that warlocks are running away. And there's a curse spell. What that means is that one of the search spots is open. I'm sorry, 2 of the search spots are open.
Yeah, 2 of the search spots are going to have something worth finding. There are 3 potential search spots in the world. One will be on the overworld map, and they'll have to locate it via coordinates given by an old man in Cantlin. One is in the town of Hawksness, which is right here nearby, but will be guarded by a high-level enemy that the players aren't ready to fight just yet. And the final one is just in Cole. You can just walk into the town and go search the spot and potentially pick up a good item. The items that could be there are Erdrick's armor, the best armor in the game, Erdrick's token, one of the plot items you need to complete the game, and the fairy flute, which is an item which would put the golem to sleep.
Okay, this is interesting. We made an error. This is the grave, and the cave that's south of the castle is the mountain cave. So both of the searchable caves are available right now, and Wraith Knights with the wombo combo of sleep and DL2 breath. So put another one on the list for enemies that have DL2 breath.
Indeed, but yeah, so many chests available if the players can just make it down there. It's pretty incredible. Highspirits, again, still needs to go a little bit farther to the north in order to find Remolder, unless he manages to get some of these chests and Mountain Cave or the Grave that have keys. I didn't see if Highspirits had gotten to many of the chests on the second floor of Mountain Cave yet. I know he's tried a few times, and he's going back in there right now.
I know jkoper has gotten the one in the top, two in the bottom, could not get to that third one. The third and fourth ones, which are south. So yeah, if Highspirits can go down and be able to find himself something like the sword, he will be having a good time. Highspirits is dark walking it, even though he has a torch.
It does take time to activate the menu option to use the torch or whatever, and Highspirits, I've joked before that Highspirits probably knows more about Dragon Warrior, has forgotten more about Dragon Warrior than I know about the game. He's like the Dragon Warrior super expert, and so watching him do this in the dark is going to be absolutely no problem. He's managed to make it down to the fourth chest, one of the final two on the bottom floor of Mountain Cave, but as was pointed out in the chat, the monsters on the second floor of Mountain Cave are awful, and the second floor of Mountain Cave and the first floor of the Grave share a zone, so these awful enemies like the Armored Knight that just killed Highspirits are also going to be present on the top floor of the Grave as well, guarding those chests.
Stop spell and hurt for the red dragons, so these red dragons could be a pretty potent late game grind.
Indeed, it might even turn into a mid-game grind if the players get Stop Spell in front of the Red Dragon and can block both of its spells. They might be able to lay a lot of damage on the Red Dragon while it just keeps casting spells that get blocked. But Highspirits finally decided to walk a bit to the north. He's going to find Remolder. He's going to feel behind right now because this was just like a few steps further north than he had previously looked. However, once he goes and opens the 7 chests, 4 in Tangel and 3 in Garanham, and discovers there's really nothing great there, he won't feel as behind.
No, and we got to have. I don't think we've seen the shop in Rimeldar. Let's see if Highspirits will try to find some weaponry in Rimeldar.
Yeah, I suppose that's true, that we hadn't looked at the shop. I guess when jkoper was here, he didn't really have much money yet. He spent all of his money on keys. Highspirits managed to get some money already. There's a broadsword, full plate. I believe I saw the silver shield available in there. Half plate and maybe one other item.
It was the large shield that was in there. It was the magic armor.
I see. All right, so that's definitely some possibilities, especially with some gold that could be kind of, well, again, it's really hard to dive these caves right now with red dragons and armored knights. So it might be a little while before the players are going to be buying a whole lot of equipment from either of these shops just yet.
Well, we know there's gold in the back of Garen, so, but Highspirits doesn't know that.
Right, that's a good point. If jkoper starts feeling desperate as he's dying to more of these enemies, like the DL2 breath coming off the Wraith Knight, perhaps we'll see him go back into Garanham and farm that gold a couple of times, maybe to be able to buy himself a broadsword or something like that. But for the moment, it looks like he is content just to try to grind out. He's now very close to the next level. 337 experience will move him up to level 7, so a couple more enemies on jkoper's side, and he'll get to see if there's anything good coming with the next level up.
Alright, we'll see as Highspirits is doing some leveling and doing some exploration. As he runs into a Wraith Knight, but able to run away from it. We should note that both of them have heal more, which is big for later on in the game.
Yeah, that heal more spell is one of the things the players basically absolutely have to have in order to win the game at the end, just to keep up with the Dragon Lord's damage output. I just saw 15 power on jkoper there at level 7, so level 7 ended up being another big strength level. The hit points starting to go up a bit more, now up to 58. They got 11 more hit points on level 7, and so that's improving things, but still not enough to survive the Dragon Lord 2 Breath attack that we've seen for so many enemies.
Yep, meanwhile, Highspirits finds another cave, but unfortunately is blocked and wrecked by a werewolf. So he's going to be sent back. And jkoper is going to go for, I believe, his 4th time trying to dive the mountain cave.
And now that he has 40 agility, it's still obviously going to be rough trying to run from armored knights or red dragons, but most of the other encounters he has in here, he's a favorite to run from at this point. So if he can just manage, he doesn't need to go back to the top chest. So if he just goes straight for the bottom chests, he doesn't have that many steps. He'll probably have only one encounter before he gets to this final chest. He picked up gold out of the 4th chest, and now he's headed to the 5th one.
Thankfully for him, he finds a gold chest, evades a Wraith Knight. Oh, right in front of the chest. Oh boy.
A Wraith Knight has sleep as well. Ah, the wombo combo. Sleep and Dragon Lord 2 Breath. Right in front of the chest. So that's going to be heartbreaking for jkoper. And it may be a while before we find out what's in that chest.
Or it could be a couple of minutes, because jkoper is going to be content banging his head against the wall.
And in the meantime, Highspirits is finally taking advantage of his keys to go check out what was in the Tanagel Treasury and downstairs. Now he's headed over to Garenham. He's going to grab some quick supplies that he might want and go check out the back of what's in there as well. And other than being a little bit behind in experience, we're pretty much going to have each of the runners on par with one another in terms of their equipment and the information they have so far in the seed.
That's right. And once again in the grave was the stones, the torch, and something else, I do believe.
With so many locations here at the start, it's been fast and furious, and I've not been able to keep track of quite all of the items.
Yeah, these are 2 ace runners. They're not leaving anything to chance. And why don't you give both of these wonderful racers a follow? It looks like, well, jkoper is going to continue to dive. He always grabs that torch. But give both of these great racers a follow, jkoper and Highspirits, here on Twitch. And while you're at it, give our wonderful crew of Janice and Lord of the Synth and Lorgon a follow. And also give myself a follow if you feel more inclined.
All right. jkoper trying again, running into the red dragon. And yeah, the red dragon, unfortunately, wearing just some leather armor, the red dragon can deal so much damage if it chooses to bite. Even though it is a little spell happy, eventually it's going to take a bite out of the players. And one bite is pretty much enough. That said, I am kind of surprised that players haven't tried to farm the gold for a little bit more equipment at this point. I guess a little bit more equipment is really not going to help them.
And armor knights as well.
Yeah, it's basically not going to make a difference at this point against the enemies they're up against. Probably we're going to see, and we've already seen Highspirits doing it a little bit, some branching out and exploring and just trying to find a good mid-game grind where there's some enemies that are, you know, in the area where they can kill them for 40 to 60 experience and actually live through the process in order to get another level.
jkoper is going to grab the gold chest. He's going to try again. What will this chest hold? The death necklace. That is going to be big late game. But it might not even matter. What he could do is sell it for 1,200. And just forget the death necklace. However, looking at the strength right now, I might be inclined to sell it off.
It's an interesting prospect. So for those who don't know, while in the vanilla game, the death necklace just cursed you, or could be sold for 1,200 gold, in Randomizer, it's been given extra functionality. The death necklace, when you put it on, while it does curse you, it will give you 10 extra attack power at the cost of 25% of your maximum hit points. And so this gives a trade-off option for players who have a lot of hit points to get some extra strength to be able to defeat the Dragon Lord that much sooner. jkoper did have some money, and so he does upgrade to half-plate armor, and that could be meaningful against some of these mid-game enemies that he's going to go out to explore to try to find now.
Yep, and it looks like he's going to make his way all the way up.
And Highspirits is learning that the Wraith Knight has sleep as well. I don't remember if you'd seen that before, but he gets slept and wrecked by the Wraith Knight. And yeah, I think now we have 9 deaths on each side. Shout out again to Janice Zeal, who's our tracker this evening, who is keeping track of the number of times each player has died, the little number that's next to their names. And so we've seen a lot of death on this seed, and it's just due to the difficult enemies that are down in these dungeons.
Yeah, and Janice Zeal is saying that if he decides to sell the Death Necklace, he could end up getting a broadsword. Yeah, he could have it, but he'll be a bit short. And yes, once you sell off the Death Necklace, it's gone. And if you take a look at the stats, if you get an Erdrick Sword, that's plus 40. So at 76, add 40, that's 116. Going by numbers, even if you just get one extra attack point for the next 10 levels, you'd be at 127, and that is good to go.
Yeah, the strength score for these players is pretty insane here early on. And that's actually one of the reasons that kind of like perhaps disincentivizes them from necessarily trying to grind out gold in one of a variety of ways to get that broadsword right now, because if they could just find, for example, Highspirits finally saw a wolf over here, they could just find an area filled with wolves, they could easily get to level 8. A green dragon is still going to be a little bit of a stretch for jkoper, so he manages to run away. The Droll Magi we saw once before, but I think it had the Baby Breath. Yeah, it's got the Baby Breath attack, and so it's unclear if he's going to be able to defeat him. Yeah, he does. Manages to two-shot the Droll Magi, and that's actually got him just a couple points away from the next level up at 600.
Yeah. He's going to get it off this Warlock, though.
Oh,
wow.
Just barely.
Left it with the one. Would have one-shotted him with that last one. Level 8 could be huge if we get a hurt more. Power 6. Oh, hit points 25, magic 19. Yeah, Death Necklace, not
That's
here.
a big deal. But the hit points, I mean, that's going to be a game changer. They now have, with 83 hit points, they can actually survive a Dragon Lord 2 Breath attack, which it looks like we might see right here. It's going to hit for like 68 to 72, so he did get a chance to take a swing at the Wraith Knight, and the Wraith Knight managed to dodge, put him back to sleep, and do that again. So in theory, those hit points give you the opportunity to survive against some of these enemies. In practice, still having some bad luck.
Yeah, can we take a look at how deadly the Wraith Knight is with the stats? I am predicting this guy is 75, 75. 75 sleep, 75 DL2. I'd be surprised if it's any lower than that.
Yeah, when the various enemies in Dragon Warrior Randomizer have various effects, they can use them at 25%, 50%, or 75% frequency, and sure enough, our trackers brought up the information. In this particular seed, the Wraith Knight is 75% sleep, 75% Dragon Lord 2 Breath, so they're almost always going to get you. They are just downright mean.
Yep, so our advice is run from them unless you get hurt more. But you gotta be careful, they are dodgy when it comes to hurt more.
So that said, I'll be really interested to see if any of our runners can actually break out and find another zone where they can just kind of wander around and find a set of enemies that they can kill and stay alive against. There really has not been anywhere great to grind in this seed. There's always something that's ready to kill you. And we're at that level, kind of like level 7, 8, 9, and 10 can be really hard to level up if you don't get a huge equipment advantage or get the Hurt More spell. And so they're kind of in that early mid-game where things can be really tough.
And it looks like jkoper is not going to go for it. Meanwhile, Highspirits has found Tablet Cave and finds some wings.
So yeah, so far
attention to jkoper, but Highspirits has a little bit of information now.
Yeah, it seems like
That
he's
should
been more
help.
successful exploring a bit to the east side of the map, and it's really noteworthy. We found a lot of chests already, and really have not found that many things. Yeah, finding the harp, finding Erdrick's sword, even the fighter's ring could be potentially pretty useful right here in this mid-game grind. All right, but jkoper manages to take out another Droll Magi. That's honestly one of the best enemies, and Highspirits finds a Wolf Lord. This could also be a really excellent enemy. It's going to be worth 52 experience, and it looks like it might just be attacking. So if he could grind on a few of those, that's another way to pick up some experience quickly, but unfortunately he runs into the Rogue Scorpion, and we know that the Rogue Scorpion has Dragon Word 2 Breath, and Highspirits knows it now too.
Meanwhile, jkoper runs into another Wraith Knight. Can he wake up? He does wake up. Can he kill it? Yes! jkoper kills the Wraith Knight. That's worth a heal more any day.
And that feels so good when you have an enemy that has killed you like 5 times on the seed and you finally get to the point to where you're strong enough to kill it the first time. I always feel good about that. And yes, Beta Streps pointed out, we already have the 3 loose chests. We've seen the chest in Remolder, we've seen the chest in Free Stuff Cave, Stones of Sunlight Cave, and in Tablet Cave, and we have access to both 5 deep dungeons. We've seen top 3 in the Grave, and all 5 in Mountain Cave, and we've seen Tanagel in the back of Cairnham, which means the harp has to be deep down in the Grave, just like it is in the vanilla game.
Let's see if jkoper realizes that.
Unfortunately, that top floor of the Grave, and I guess it's actually the top 2 floors, has some of those really awful monsters. And so the other thing that they can do, obviously, is try to explore. If they can find if they can find Cantlin, Cole, or Hawksness, any of those towns could give them a chance at finding Erdrick's armor, which would be a huge upgrade at this point. But honestly, that's the main thing. And speaking of, Highspirits has found... Oh, right, Hawksness was right here at the spark. Highspirits is actually going into Hawksness, I'd forgotten about it already, to see what's on the spike tile.
It's not too bad getting a blue dragon.
And he managed to deal a fair amount of damage using the bamboo pole, but it was not quite enough. It seemed like the blue dragon had stop spell, and so if he gets lucky and the stop spell doesn't land and the blue dragon casts it a few times, it's possible he could win. And now that he knows that it's there, I wonder if he'll try to get some gold in order to get his hands on a broadsword, in which case he probably would be able to win that one. And then he'd have a 1 in 3 chance that the armor might be buried there beneath that blue dragon and Hawksness.
Or he could dive the Grave.
Well, I forget, was there a gold chest in one of these top 3 chests in the Grave? Oh, I see, he is diving down, deep down to the bottom.
He might look out and get Erdrick's sword.
Chances of that are like 1 in 9, I think, because there are 7, I guess 1 in 8. There's 7 chests in Charlock, and 1 chest that is not the harp here in the bottom of the Grave. And so, Erdrick's sword, and there's a gold chest down
so now
there.
We know where Erdrick's sword is.
Yeah, so the harp has to be in the bottom of the Grave, and Erdrick's sword has to be in Charlock, which we haven't seen. So, no luck for the runners there. This is turning into a really interesting seed. Look at jkoper, he got level 9. Look at the strength. Look at the strength at level 9. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, 104 strength. And he finds a hand axe.
There are many seeds.
He's gonna buy a club instead.
There are many seeds in Dragon Warrior Randomizer where you never get to 104 strength before winning the game. They're only level 9 here, half an hour into the seed, and already 104 strength. And 124 hit points puts the Death Necklace in play for even more attack power. This is a seed that looks like it could probably be one with the broadsword, and jkoper's wielding a club. Like, by the time they get all the items they need, maybe that would be enough to take down the Dragon Lord. Just insane stats in this one.
Actually, I'm looking at the stats. With the Erdrick's sword, you'd be swinging for 144. And there's the Silver Harp Trading Cave. The high would be 22. The low would be 11. That, with 7 Yomors, could do it.
However,
and that's without the Death Necklace, because you'll be getting doubles.
However, their agility is 45. And even with Erdrick's armor, they are unlikely to be able to get a silver shield in the seed, given that there isn't any kind of good gold grind. So they probably just have a large shield, and so defense power, getting through Sharlock, as well as fighting the Dragon Lord, is probably going to be the main bottleneck at the end of this seed, the way it seems to be playing out right now. But that's the thing about Randomizer, and especially Dragon Warrior Randomizer. Each seed presents its own kind of unique puzzle for the players to solve, and this one has just a crazy set of stats, and they have to think through how they're going to play this seed out to take advantage of what they're given.
Right, you kind of have to CSI this one out. And it looks like Highspirits is going to try for the harp once again. Has the power to take out this Wraith Knight if he survives this one sleep. Yep, he awakes, hits, and will be able to press on with the heal more.
All right, so that's good. So Highspirits has kind of crossed that threshold to where he's able to defeat the Wraith Knight as well. That's hopefully going to allow him to dive deeper into the grave, and once he gets onto the 3rd floor, the enemies there are going to be easier. It's just the top 2 floors that are this particular zone that has all these awful enemies. And so if he can make it that far, he'll probably make it all the way down to the harp. But remind me, jkoper at least saw the swamp cave at some point. I don't remember exactly where it was located in the overworld, but we never saw anyone check the spike tile that exists in the swamp cave, and that could be an interesting thing. We're eventually going to need a good monster to grind. The blue dragon would be a candidate with more... Well, even with jkoper's attack power. jkoper will probably take out the blue dragon right now in Hawk's Nest. He hasn't gone back there yet, has he?
No, he saw it and decided to quit, and decided to leave it alone. As somebody knows, a normal level 2132. And here's Highspirits going to the bottom of the grave, only running into a Drakey. He knows what's in the bottom of that grave, and that is the Silver Harp. It's just a matter of finding Erdrick's token.
And sure enough, he manages to get all the way to the bottom. He's got the Silver Harp. That's another one of the quest items. We already saw in one of the players' stream the Staff of Rain Cave. I think it might have been jkoper. It was over near Sharlock Castle, which was surrounded by that wall. And so he will have to visit that to trade in the Silver Harp for the Staff of Rain. And then they'll also need to find another old man, the Jerk, after they get Erdrick's token to get the Rainbow Drop to create a bridge that will enable them to get into Sharlock Castle to fight the final boss. But we're still a ways away from that.
That's right, and jkoper is about to take out this Armor Knight. He's got heal, though, which is a little bit of a problem. By the way, at 10, it looks like 9 or 10 you get sleep, which is going to be helpful against some enemies.
It's interesting here. Okay, the Armored Knight took him out with Hurt More. And unfortunately, the players haven't learned Stop Spell yet to block the opponent enemy's spells. The enemies heal for, like,
Oh,
around...
an excellent Doge but from Highspirits when it comes to the Bolter guy.
I missed that. The heal spell heals enemies like on the order of 25 hit points, and that's about how hard he was hitting the Armored Knight back, and so it was possible that he was still going to be able to win that fight until the Armored Knight pulled out the hurt more. But it does seem like jkoper is going back into Hawksnest now, and if he makes it to this Blue Dragon tile, I think he's going to win this fight, and we'll finally get a look at one of the 3 search spots to see if it contains Erdrick's armor.
Oh my goodness, Rogue Scorpions also have the Wombo combo.
They have sleep as well. We'd only seen the Dragon Lord 2 breath out of them. Once again, if our trackers or Restreamer can put up the stats for the Rogue Scorpion, I would be interested to see. It seems like they might be only 25 or 50% sleep, but they're still using the Dragon Lord 2 breath pretty frequently as well. Yeah, it looks like 50% sleep, 75% Dragon Lord 2 breath. So we have seen, honestly, a very high number of very mean enemies early on in this seed. But these are 2 very capable runners who have been gifted a seed where they have an insane amount of strength and hit points for this early. And so, on the one hand, super difficult enemies. On the other hand, super strong heroes. I can't wait to see how it's going to play out.
And Highspirits is going to be the first one to defeat the... And it is... Oh my goodness, it's the flute!
One of 3 items that could appear on the search spot. The flute is undoubtedly the least meaningful. jkoper also manages to defeat the Blue Dragon and pick up the Fairy Flute as well. And jkoper, this is something I was wondering if Highspirits was going to do. jkoper is choosing to grind the Blue Dragon, so this enemy always respawns on this tile in Hawksnest, and you can choose to fight it over and over again. And right now, this is a very good enemy for jkoper to be fighting to gain some experience. 180 a pop, and he can defeat this guy pretty easily, and so that's going to give him a quick another level up that he needed to get to level 10, which is another moderate level in terms of stats, but he does learn the spell of Hurt More, the most powerful magic spell in the game.
Take a look at that strength. He's at 110 right now. He can get a broadsword and win.
I have no words for the strength. Meanwhile, Highspirits has found the town of Breckenry. The good news is we're finding new locations. The bad news is Breckenry, once again, not a particularly exciting place to find. It looked like a club and a hand axe, and it looks like Highspirits did not buy either of those. I mean, he doesn't honestly necessarily need it, but I would still take a small upgrade in attack power, unless he picked up another weapon somewhere along the way that we missed.
No, he still has the bamboo pole. He's just going to continue looking for stuff.
Highspirits is a great player, and so at this point, I believe he knows that Erdrick's sword is going to be in Charlock. He knows that he's strong enough to defeat mid-tier enemies, such as that Wolf Lord that he just one-shot with a bamboo pole. This is insane. So he's just going to get the homework done, hope that Hurt More is going to come, and sure enough, it is going to come relatively soon, since we've seen it on jkoper's side already. And in the meantime, he's just trying to get all the homework done so that he can get into Charlock Castle, dive down to the bottom, get his hands on that Erdrick sword, because he can see that once they have Erdrick's sword, they would be, quote-unquote, Dragon Lord eligible very quickly, because they're going to have just so much attack power.
And jkoper picks up the broadsword. Take a look at the attack power right now, 130. He would have a high of 15 and a low of 7. And with 128 attack power, with 128 hit points, that's easily double material.
And I also have to wonder if either of the players is just going to go ahead and put on the Death Necklace early in the seed. I guess they need Erdrick's armor to be able to heal before they can put on the Death Necklace safely. And I can't remember if Highspirits has seen the location of Charlock yet either. Yeah, there's so many options available to these players. It's really crazy. In any case, jkoper is diving now to the 4th and 5th chests in the grave. If he manages to stay alive, and he's strong enough at this point that he ought to be able to, he will get his hands on the Silver Harp pretty soon.
Meanwhile, Highspirits gets to level 10. That will be a nice little boost for him. He's able to fight red dragons now. guess he doesn't want to.
And so at this point, it all comes down to exploring. Either Cantlin is going to give us the coordinates to Erdrick's armor, or the town of Cole is going to give us Erdrick's armor. And then the other one of the two, I guess, has to have Erdrick's token. So both of these towns are going to need to be found by both runners before they'll really be able to enter Sharlock. And by that time, like, they might just make a mad dash to go win the game right then and there, the way these stats are going.
Right, with jkoper gets level 12, 137 hit points now. 19114 was that level 12. Can you believe that?
And just as a reminder, since someone's asking in the chat, the Death Necklace will give you 10 extra attack power at the cost of 25% of your hit points. Now, an interesting reason not to use the Death Necklace at this point and preserve all the hit points that you have is because the actual dive of Sharlock, given the low agility, it's going to be very difficult to run from monsters as you're diving through the 8 basements of Sharlock to get to the final boss, to get to the Dragon Lord. And so you want to have those extra hit points basically to be able to preserve your integrity as you dive down and have to fight all those monsters or try to run away from all those monsters until you get down to the Dragon Lord. So I think actually that's probably a reason the players wouldn't put on the Death Necklace just yet, even though they have the hit points where they could choose to do it. And I mean, this is just insane. We're watching players intentionally fight an armored knight who is, in this seed, potentially the most difficult enemy because the red dragon is a little bit gimped with the spells that it has, with a bamboo pole. Highspirits is fighting an armored knight with a bamboo pole on purpose, 44 minutes into the seed. I've never seen anything like this.
It's like, have you ever watched ECW back in the day with the Sandman?
And he wins.
Well, there was a wrestler called the Sandman who would always swing around a Singapore cane. I think it's kind of made of bamboo. So Highspirits is Sandman in this seed, just whacking anything and everything with a bamboo pole, knocking them out.
Indeed.
Oh,
and while we're
Highspirits
talking
found
about
another
that,
town.
oh boy, jkoper did manage to successfully drive the grave. He has picked up the silver harp, one of the quest items he needs, and he is taking a quick pit stop back in Remolder, but let's keep an eye on Highspirits and discover which of the two remaining towns this is. Is it Cantlin or is it Cole? Cole would be more immediately useful because he could immediately search a spot, although he's not going in, so is this something he's seen before, or does he just love the werewolf and wants to get... He's only 14 experience points away from the next level up, and so we prefer to get that level so that when he takes an inn at the town, he can actually refill his magic up to his next magic point total, which is probably going to increase here with the level up.
Yeah, well.
And so Highspirits gets the good news that he now has the Hurt More spell under his belt, and... I see, that was Breckenry. I'd lost track of where that was. Okay, so that's another reason that he didn't just make a beeline inside, just in case it was Cole with the armor. You wouldn't want to risk potentially dying to something unexpected just outside. So he will go ahead and refill, and we just have to hope that these players manage to explore the map and find these two remaining towns. But we're going to see potentially the shortest Dragon Lord fights you've ever seen by the end of this seed, because the players are so powerful and are going to deal so much damage.
And unfortunately for the fans that are watching the stream, he has abandoned the bamboo pole and picked up a hand axe. So the search continues for Highspirits as he tries to find Cole and Cantlin. They could possibly be in the second continent.
That's a good point. I guess jkoper went onto that second continent and only managed to take a few steps before he got taken out by a rogue scorpion last time, and I can't recall if he has gone back there. It looks like he's just exploring kind of the eastern portion of the first continent right now, if I can remember how the map looks. But yeah, just as a recap of this one, it started out pretty normal with 11 strength. Did have a bunch of locations available for the players right at the start, but even though there were tons of chests available, nothing immediately gave the players a whole lot of equipment. But then their level ups came, and the stats and strength and hit points just grew and grew and grew like we'd never seen them grow before.
No, the whole sea has been busted wide open. Now it's just a matter of where do you go?
And it looks like Highspirits found a dead end somewhere, chose to use the return spell to warp back to Tanagel, and now is headed up, I guess, to the town of Remolder to... Oh, he's going to pick up some equipment. I forget, did we say the large shield was here? I guess that would be what he's picking up. Yes, he's picking up the large shield. So that's going to increase his defensive power by 10, I believe, which is good because their defensive power is the only thing that's really awful. All the other stats are looking good. And yeah, honestly, all the other stats might compensate for bad agility and bad defensive power at the end of the game.
Oh my god, look at the strength at 13. Do you even try to pick up Erdrick's sword anymore? Since you have
I mean,
139...
since it's in Charlock and you have to get down to the basement to get to the treasury to where you would pick it up, by that point you would know if you're strong enough just to defeat the Dragon Lord with the broadsword right there. So if jkoper gets down there and he doesn't need Erdrick's sword, he will just leave it in a chest and pass it right on by. We may never find out which chest holds Erdrick's sword on this seed.
That's right, and it looks like Highspirits is going Swamp Cave.
And that's a good choice. It seems like... I don't know that I would do any grinding on this seed. He is going to go ahead and check the tile. I think he's going to potentially rescue the princess, because he's seen what the map looks like. He knows that he needs the overworld coordinate location for either Erdrick's armor or Erdrick's token, and so he's going to go ahead and preemptively rescue the princess right here in order to have the GPS, the Gwaelin positioning system, so that he'll be able to know at any given time, nope, I'm wrong. He checked the blue dragon, and he's noped right out of there. He's going to wait until he knows what the coordinates is before he rescues the princess, so I speculated, and I was completely wrong.
And unfortunately for Highspirits, here comes a wombo combo. Can he survive it? He has survived it. Oh no! Could not run away, slept, and wrecked.
I think Highspirits potentially, with all the other stats being so great, has forgotten just how poor his agility is. With 46 experience, he is a pretty decent favorite to run versus the Wraith Knight, but it's one of the only enemies that could kill him. I think it might have been smarter for him to throw a Hurtmore. Well, he's actually probably more of a favorite to run than to land the Hurtmore, because they're capable of dodging the Hurtmore too. I'm not sure what exactly the odds are there. He got pretty unlucky.
It's pretty good for them to dodge the Hurtmore. I've seen quite a few races in this tournament and also elsewhere that they have been pretty dodge happy when it comes to Hurtmore. So yeah, I think strength, it's better off just to take a swing and one-shot them.
Yeah, I think they're like 3 out of 16 in terms of magic dodging, and it's one of those things that, like, usually it's going to work, but when it doesn't, and when it's this enemy with the wombo combo, yikes. And so it seems like Highspirits is headed back. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of surprised that he didn't choose to rescue the princess right there. Because there's just such a high odds that it will come in helpful, and it would not have taken him, I don't know, more than an extra 30 seconds to go walk over and rescue her, and then another few seconds to actually bring her back to the castle later on if she's needed. And he wouldn't even have to bring her back to the castle if he ends up getting the coordinates and they're small and countable and she's not needed. So, kind of surprised by the choice there, but...
Well, I think what Highspirits is thinking is you can find it, you leave her alone, and get her on the way back. Because, remember, the back half of Garenham leads to the top half, the top entrance of Swamp Cave. So, Finder Def can cast outside and return immediately, drop her off, and go searching for the coordinates with the armor.
And jkoper just did a weird thing where he popped in and out of Hawksness, and so I guess he forgot which one was Hawksness and which one was Garanhan. But now it seems like jkoper is also headed through the Swamp Cave to go looking on the second continent. And at this point, I don't know if jkoper is just trying to think through some of his notes or something. It looked like he was pausing there for a moment.
As we see Highspirits still running from Red Dragons, with his strength at 110, they're kind of free.
On the one hand, yes, they're kind of free. On the other hand, he might not need to level up to win the seed, which is insane at level 11. Yeah, I don't know. These will be interesting to ask the runners what they were thinking about around level 11 and 12, seeing the crazy stats that they had and what their thoughts were in terms of how Sharlock was going to play out. Because on the one hand, they had plenty of strength to defeat the Dragon Lord. On the other hand, they had very poor agility and might have to fight a whole lot of monsters on the way down.
Interesting. It looks like the second continent has nothing.
So I'm just making some notes to myself in terms of asking the players in the post-game interview about kind of their thoughts here. But yeah, it appears to be, we often talk about the fun police of the seed. The Red Dragon is often the fun police as the enemy who, when they show up, the fun ends. In this particular seed, it seems like the Wraith Knight with his Rondo combo and being so common was kind of the fun police of this particular seed. But alternatively, maybe it's the overworld map. The players have not been able to find two of the key locations, despite the fact that they're super powerful. And so it might turn out to be that exploration and finding these last two locations is going to be the real hang-up.
And it looks like Highspirits finds another cave. And there's a town right there. This is, it's Gantlin.
Alright, so we have finally found one of the two key towns to find. There's going to be an old man in here, unlocked by a key, where Highspirits can get the coordinates of one of the two items, either Erdrick's armor or Erdrick's token. And so we'll see what these coordinates are going to be. "23 north and 99 east." That's going to be extremely difficult to count, and so I think we are going to see a princess rescue. And I started to say it before, but when you rescue the princess and bring her back to the castle, she gives you an item called Gwaelin's Love. We often refer to it as the GPS, the Gwaelin Positioning System. You can use it as an item in your menu on the overworld, and she will tell you how far away, north, south, east, west, you are from Tanagel Castle, and so you can use it to locate those coordinates to find out when you're 23 north and 99 east, to be able to go and search a spot on the overworld to find one of those two key items.
Right, but Highspirits is not immediately going for the princess, and I think that's the smart play because he's got all that HP. He could search a little bit and try to find Cole.
Yeah, if he finds Cole and Cole has the armor, it will be valuable to have that early because it means he'll be able to... Erdrick's armor has lots of great properties, but one of them is the ability to walk over all the swamp tiles you see on the overworld without taking damage. And so that's just kind of a nice convenience to have. He's popping into a cave here, the Jerk Cave. I don't remember if we had seen that before. But the Jerk Cave has been located.
And there is Cole.
Okay. So, despite the fact that Highspirits has not been killing as many enemies and is not as high of a level, he has now found all of the key locations. He's going to search in Cole, and we'll see if he gets the armor or the token.
And jkoper has got level 14. He is now rescuing Gwaelin. And, Cole had the token.
So
Ooh,
that's...
this is big for Highspirits.
I mean, it's good news, bad news. The good news is, having just passed the jerk, now he can immediately exchange the Staff of Rainstones of Sunlight and Erdrick's token for the Rainbow Drop, which means he doesn't need to go back to that continent potentially at all. He's now cast the return spell, he's going to go get his magic back, and then go try to dig up Erdrick's armor wherever it is.
What was in Hogsnest was the Fairy Flute. The armor is in the Overworld Coordinates. So Highspirits is making a beeline right now, going to save Gwaelin. Meanwhile, jkoper is
carrying the princess because he already defeated the blue dragon in the swamp cave when he got that level up and decided to rescue the princess right then and there. So this is potentially going to save him some time if he can manage to stay alive with the princess in arms while he manages to go find out that the coordinates are indeed something where he's going to want to have that GPS system to count him out. And looking ahead to the endgame, jkoper is not going to need the extra stats for defeating the Dragon Lord, but having the extra agility might allow him to run from more enemies in Sharlock and be able to get through Sharlock Castle quicker. So even if he is slower getting into Sharlock, he still might get down to the Dragon Lord, the final boss, faster than Highspirits, even if he gets into the castle later.
He's also got the advantage of an extra heal more.
That's right. Heal More costs 8 to cast, and he has 75 magic points, whereas Highspirits currently only has 68. So we'll have 9 Heal Mores to Highspirits 8 if they just were going at this level. But meanwhile, Highspirits doing... I guess he's... yes, just rescuing Princess Gwaelin right now. So he is going to cast Outside Return, bring her back to the castle, and go try to dig up those coordinates to get Erdrick's armor. And while I've watched jkoper a few times, I don't know what his strategy is in terms of mapping. A lot of the players just keep the map in their head while they're playing. A number of other players try to draw a map, or at least a sketch, to remind them where they've explored, where they have yet to explore, where there are towns they need to return to and things. And so I don't have a great sense as to whether jkoper already has it narrowed down as to where he still needs to look to find these last couple of towns, or whether he's going to be doing a little bit more random wandering.
Who knows, but it looks like jkoper is just going to grind until he can't grind anymore.
I'm really surprised jkoper has magic to cast the Repel spell. And I would at least want to cast that to... I guess he's probably holding on to magic so that he has enough magic to cast Return, hoping that he's going to find one of these towns here. And if he finds Cantlin, get the coordinates, or just be able to return if he ends up in a dead end, I guess. This will be interesting to ask jkoper when he was in this situation, like, what were the thoughts going through his head?
Absolutely. But it looks like once Highspirits gets this armor, it's going to be touch and go, but he could do it.
So yeah, if Highspirits does choose to get Erdrick's sword, that's going to be an extra, oh my gosh, 25 attack power on top of his 126, which would bring him to 151. You would be able to hit the Dragon Lord for 12 to 25, if I've done my math correctly, for an average of over 18, which would only take 9 hits to take out the Dragon Lord, and that's assuming he doesn't level up at all.
And not only that, he's also got health for days. So he is good.
Oh, and he could choose to put on the Dreth Necklace if he wanted to, too.
Why would you?
Yeah, I would not choose to do it, but if he did, yeah, he could have even 10 more attack power and be hitting the Dragon Lord for even more. But yeah, I think I would just roll with the hit points. It makes it a much less variable fight if you do things that way with these crazy stats. Interesting. So Highspirits, it looks like, is going to grind for agility, I guess? He's
I
headed
don't
back
mind
at
this
the
play,
Hawk's Nest.
but he could slash up everything in Hawk's Nest, but he's probably... But then again, he's also ran from every single red dragon he's ran into. I guess...
And someone in the chat has suggested he might just be going for a little bit of extra magic points. He only needs to kill like 2 or 3 blue dragons to get 1 more level. And if level 13 comes up with 4 more magic points, that would give him 1 extra heal more for his Sharlock dive. And so he just might want to spend, less than 2 minutes here just to get that level and see what it's giving him.
Oh, let's take a look at 15. Oh my goodness. Look at 15.
16 more agility. That, again, could be a big deal for jkoper. It appears that he died with the princess in arms last time, so he's gone to rescue the princess again. So unfortunately, he really needs to hightail it to find those last 2 towns, because he has a bit of homework to do before he can enter Charlotte Castle. Meanwhile, it seems that Highspirits is also continuing to grind here.
Or not. He's going.
Or not. Okay, yeah, I think he just hadn't potentially thought through all of these crazy stats. It really is interesting. Like, when the stats are kind of average, it's very easy to just kind of glance at them and have a gut intuition of when you're ready to go. On a weird seed like this with tons of strength but very poor agility, like, you have to do a bit more of the math in your head to kind of think things through to decide exactly what you'll be up against.
And Highspirits is... I don't think Highspirits healed.
I can't remember if there's one other town on the way over to Sharlock over there. I'm guessing there must be, since he didn't choose to heal. Yeah, Breckenry is probably over there just a little bit to the north, and then he can head back down to the south where I think Sharlock is, maybe.
Right, because there's Breckenry right there.
But yeah, now it looks like it's basically... Unless... Let's think through the Sharlock enemies. Have we seen a wizard? Have we seen a star wyvern? I'm trying to think of any other enemies that might surprise Highspirits with a Wundle combo, or something like that could slow him down.
We have not seen any of the material enemies. Golem, Stoneman, Goldman. We have not seen them.
We have seen all the dragons, and we've seen the armored knight, and I think we saw the werewolf as well. And none of those enemies that I can recall were packing sleep. And so, unless one of these other enemies shows up with sleep, it seems like Highspirits can probably tear through most everything he's going to encounter in Sharlock, and it's just a matter of how much damage they're going to be doing to him along the way.
Right, and he's going to run from everything. He's got 61 agility. That isn't that bad. Now here's the wizards. The wizards are usually free. But I have a feeling what Highspirits is going to do, he's looking at the stats. He can go and open the treasury and get what he needs.
I have to imagine that he would choose to fight an armored knight if he sees one of them, because he's such a unfavored to run from that enemy, and he can probably kill it in 3 shots with his broadsword. Red Dragon, since they had Stop Spell and Hurt, I don't remember how frequently they were actually biting. I'm not sure if Highspirits would choose to fight the Red Dragon or run from it, but we'll just have to see what enemies he actually encounters in Sharlock and what he decides to do. Honestly, I was kind of surprised that he was running from the Axe Knight, because the Axe Knight has reasonably high agility. But he does manage to run on the 3rd try on the 2nd Axe Knight.
He's getting a good heal walk here. Meanwhile, jkoper is in trouble. He has never... I don't think he's ever explored north of Rimeldar. He never explored that part, and that's where everything is. jkoper is... He's lost right now.
Yeah, I kind of joked about it before in terms of the fun piece of the seed potentially being the map, and it looks like we might actually see that playing out right now on jkoper's side. So right now it looks like Highspirits race to lose.
And by the way, you were right about Armor Knights. He's taking those on, but not taking anything else on.
Yeah, the Armored Knights and the Red Dragons are probably the only enemies that he's not at least a coin flip to run from. And given his huge attack power, he can just, 3-shot these guys, maybe even 2-shot them if he gets lucky. And so rather than risk having a series of bad coin flips, he's just going to choose to fight those enemies. And here's potentially our first Star Wyvern we've seen on the screen, but he managed just to run away and take only 18 hit points damage in the process.
Now the question is, will he go into the treasury?
I guess actually he doesn't need to. He has so many hit points. I think I probably would, unless there's lots of Armored Knights on the bottom floor that possibly cause a risk to the dive. I probably would pick up Erdrick's Sword just to make a probable win against the Dragon Lord turn into a guaranteed win. But there are Armored Knights on the bottom floor. He has just moved on to the bottom 3 sets of floor, which have their own set of enemies, and the Armored Knight is the first guy he encountered. This is the only thing that's going to be a threat to him during the dive. However, if he needs to spend some heal mores after fighting some of these Armored Knights, he might be forced to go to the treasury to get Erdrick's Sword to have enough attack power to make up for the fact that he spent some of his magic before he got to the Dragon Lord. We'll see.
Or he could do an excellent move and eliminate that possibility.
That could work out as well, although the Armored Knight has a lot of hit points, and even with the excellent move, managed to stay alive, cast heal, got a hurt more on him before Highspirits took him out. Highspirits has gone through 3 of the 6 herbs. He still has 3 left. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Meanwhile, jkoper finds Cantlin.
Finally. He's got to feel behind, though.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it one bit. But what's interesting, though, is Highspirits might want to continue grinding that Armored Knights. Highspirits is almost at level 14, which would put it out of reach. Because that's when the massive strength comes.
Yeah, Highspirits doesn't know that's coming, and so I don't really think that's on his mind. I think he's just thinking it's harder to run from the Armored Knights than it is to kill them, and so that's the reason. And then he's just getting the side effect of getting the extra experience he's going to need to get the next level, which is definitely going to help him out. And so it'll be interesting, actually, to see if he gets to level 14 before he gets to the fork, where he has to choose, do I go to the treasury and pick up the sword, or do I head straight for the Dragon Lord? I think I might have actually chosen to kill the werewolf right there just to get the information. Instead, he doesn't have the level yet, and now he is headed for the treasury to try to pick up Erdrick's Sword, but he's running into another Armored Knight along the way.
Right, and he's going to get the level right here off of this Armored Knight. And this could decide whether he wants to backtrack out or just go.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly what came at level 14, but it's up on the screen now. 1300. Okay, he's definitely going to go for the sword. If he was thinking about going for the sword now, level 14 did not help him out to change his mind. So, 6 out of 7 chance that the sword is in one of these chests.
Oh, there's the fighter's ring.
Oh, the fighter's ring.
We forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's an extra 2 attack power.
Yeah, we kind of missed the playing of the $100,000 pyramid. Oh, is it in the 250? Oh my goodness, it's vanilla!
It's the vanilla sword location. So while there are 6 chests in the Sharlock Treasury, there is also a 7th chest that's hidden way back up on one of the higher floors. And that's the location of the sword in this particular seed. It's the final troll. And
he decides to go back for it.
I think he has to.
Not with the help, though, because he could easily swing for doubles.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. He's just going forward. And let's see. In terms of odds, he would be hitting for like an average of 15. So 10, 9, and he's going to get doubles. He is probably a 75 or 80% favorite to win this Dragon Lord 2 battle, I would guess, just quickly going by some gut feel. However, the Dragon Lord can bite him. Usually you don't expect to take more than 48 damage during a Dragon Lord fight, but since his defense power is only 72, the Dragon Lord will actually be able to bite him for, I think, 52, and so he needs to make sure that he's careful about that and doesn't end up leaving himself vulnerable by failing to heal a little bit higher than he typically do during a Dragon Lord 2 battle.
How about this blue dragon on all 3 spike spots?
Yeah, that is crazy. This is the final spike right before Dragon Lord 2 with another repeatable enemy. Highspirits is going to cut right through it and head to the Dragon Lord. Meanwhile, in jkoper, he did find the Town of Coal. He's gotten the token. He's trading things in order to get the rainbow drop, but he's just going to be too little too late in terms of getting his exploration done. Highspirits has started a fight with Dragon Lord 1.
And rolls low to start. But he takes care of the first part, now the second part.
And the Dragon Lord 2 gives him a back attack. With his low agility, Dragon Lord 2 went first, causes him to immediately have to spend one of his 9 heal mores. He only has 8 left. Now he's going to have to hope potentially to get some decent rolls or to get some good heals so that he'll actually be able to get 2 attacks in before he needs to do his next heal.
48, he's not going to go for it.
And like I said, since the Dragon Lord can bite for 52, I think that was probably a smart move. Later on in the fight, if his rolls are not great, we might see him swing at a 48, 49, 50, but early on in the fight, he still has good chances to win, even without taking a risk.
He's going to go at 49.
And the Dragon Lord bites for 50 and takes him out. He decided he needed the risk and got unlucky. And someone just asked in the chat, do we think he still wins this even if he wipes a Dragon Lord 2? We're about to find out. All of a sudden, we have a race. jkoper is using Princess Gwaelin's love to try to find the location to dig up the armor. Highspirits has to go back to go fight the Dragon Lord. jkoper has better stats than Highspirits does, so even though Highspirits just lost at 14, given the same kind of luck, jkoper could potentially win at 15. This could get interesting. I didn't notice how close jkoper is to the coordinates right now.
jkoper's super close. Highspirits is going to do his magic refill, then has to re-get herbs. Meanwhile, jkoper has the armor. He's casting Return.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
good. It's only like 2 screens over, I think, to go to... Wait a minute. jkoper is going... What is going on here? Why is he going back into Hawk's Nest? Did jkoper see all of the locations? Does he know for sure that the sword is in Charlock? Has he forgotten that he doesn't have the sword and thinks he still needs more? He's got 142 attack power, though. I don't understand this play. We have to ask about this in the post-game interviews.
Right, because this could come and bite him. Because he could go now with what he's got and win, because he'd have 11 heal mores.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw Highspirits took a shot at 14 with exactly the same equipment and got unlucky and potentially could have won right there. jkoper has better stats than Highspirits does. Yeah, this is a really unusual play in my opinion, and so we definitely have to ask at the end. Yeah, not sure what's going on in his mind. Highspirits, the question also came up, will Highspirits pick up Erdrick's sword on the way down? He knows Erdrick's sword is in that quote-unquote vanilla's chest or judge's table. It's a little bit out of the way, but it's not terribly far out of the way in Charlock to go pick up. And I guess when he gets down to the decision point, depending upon how his hit points and magic point stats are looking, he might make the decision based on those inputs.
Right. Meanwhile, jkoper is getting close to 16, which would just pretty much be overkill. Oh, I think I figured it out. He's grinding for more agility for more defense.
But he doesn't need it. I mean, I agree that agility would help. It would also help in terms of running to make it faster to get through Charlock, because there's more enemies that you could run from more quickly. But, I mean, this is costing him like probably not 3, probably cost him like 2 minutes of grinding here. And a Charlock dive typically takes only on the order of like 7 minutes or something. And so that's a huge time sink to necessarily put in for hopefully good stats. And I didn't notice he did actually get some good stats in that one in terms of getting some more agility. So it might turn out to be helpful. I don't know. We'll see what happens in High Spirits Dive.
Right, and he's just going to run from everything. We'll have to see if he runs from Armor Knights again. Or Green Dragons. Yeah, he's just going to run from everything now. He's probably looking to grab Erdrick's sword. But here it comes to the decision point. Is he going to go for the sword? We'll find out after he runs from this Axe Knight. And here comes the decision. He's gonna try again with the broadsword.
Someone had pointed out in the chat, both runners are 3-0. No, he's going...
Go for it.
Yeah, he's going for Erdrick's sword. Both runners are 3-0, and so they've necessarily already qualified for the bracket stage of the tournament. And so winning this race is just going to help them in terms of seeding and positioning going into the brackets. And with that pressure taken off, you do have the ability to play potentially a little bit more fast and loose than you normally would. But here we have High Spirits just making the conservative play. It doesn't take him too long. He's already made it down to the chest where Erdrick's sword is. He's going to go pick it up. And so now... he's basically a total shoo-in to win against the Dragon Lord. And he's also going to get to the Dragon Lord faster than jkoper, unless he has insanely bad luck with the monsters along the way. But it is close enough to be a race once again. I'm kind of almost happy about the way High Spirit's first Dragon Lord 2 battle went, because it made what was looking like a runaway turn into a race, and it's been very exciting.
It has, but the problem with High Spirits also is visibility. Does he know how to bonk his way through Sherlock? Because he used the Radiant. That's now ran out. He cannot Radiant again. He would have to sacrifice the heal more.
Well, as I mentioned earlier in the race, I think High Spirits has forgotten more about Dragon Lord than I ever knew about it. And so I have no worries, no qualms about High Spirits being able to find his way through things here in the dark. And especially now as he's gotten down to some of the final levels, which are the easiest ones to navigate. He's on the level that's just a big U of going down and left and up. He just has to go to the right on the next level, and then things will be lit up again.
Okay, but yeah, this is quite, and it's noted, Eternal Newbie says, High Spirits played an entire seed dark earlier today. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's some kind of challenge mode, some special ROM that they use that allows you to, not see anything. Even the overworld map was dark or something. I only glanced in on his stream earlier today. I don't know the details, but that gives you a sense of just how familiar High Spirits is with this game. All right, but as we mentioned, jkoper has good agility. He's run from a number of monsters. He's already getting down into the bottom 3 floors. He's only going to be one screen, maybe 2 behind High Spirits. And if High Spirits gets some encounters that he has trouble running from, jkoper could actually pass him. It's still unlikely, but it's definitely possible. The question is jkoper just going to fight the Dragon Lord with these attack power, or is he going to take a diversion into the treasury?
Or what could be trouble is jkoper getting blocked himself and running into a lot of stonemen in the process. He's got an armored knight. Can he run from it? Yes. He's going to go into the treasury and get the bad news.
Indeed. So jkoper doesn't know that Erdrick's sword is sitting at the middle location. He's going to waste some time here in the treasury, and once again, this is 100% High Spirits race to lose, but I don't think he could possibly lose without a mismenu at this point.
Well, if you take a look at the defense points now, remember you said last time, he's got some trouble because Dragon Lord can swing for 52.
But he definitely knows it at this point, since it took him out for 50 last time. If he had kind of forgotten about that potentially on the last one, which I think he probably didn't, I think he was just playing some odds there. This time he's certainly going to remember, and he can probably do the extra heal more because he is likely to... this time, I didn't notice, did he not get back attack this time?
He didn't even get attacked at all in the first form.
Yeah, so
and
this
he swung for 30.
We're going to see the Dragon Lord get torn to shreds.
And this is possible for a double. 21, 42. He's got a double possibility, but he's not going to go for it because 52, I think he knows that's the max that he could swing.
And yeah, when you're laying 23s on the Dragon Lord, yeah, it's only going to be a matter of time. He's going to be doing plenty of damage output. jkoper is putting on the Death Necklace, which will give him 10 extra attack power. So even though he doesn't have Erdrick's Sword, his attack power is going to go up. And with 108 hit points after losing 25% of his hit points, this will also make him a stronger favorite to win against the Dragon Lord here as well.
But it's all for naught as Highspirits defeats the Dragon Lord. Get your GGs out, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Highspirits is talking to the king. You'll get the I'm so happy, but thou must, whatever he decides to do when it comes to Gwaylin. Gwaylon's so happy, and Highspirits has won this 3-0 race. He is now 4-0 in the Swiss part of the summer tournament.
And yeah, that's with an official SRL time of 1:24:06. And yeah, if you'd ask people at the start who you think are likely candidates to go 4-0 at this stage of the race, Highspirits would definitely be on the list. He's definitely a top 4 runner. And yeah, showed it off today. He had one moment of kind of bad luck there with Dragon Lord choosing to bite for 50 just at the moment that Highspirits was taking a little bit of risk. But he did an excellent job conquering not only the enemies in this one, but also the map. That was the thing that really kind of hung up jkoper toward the end. But jkoper made a very valiant effort, and he's going to come in not very far behind another very good runner who's gone far in the past. He has also defeated Dragon Lord, so get your GGs out in chat for jkoper, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to these guys in just a moment. In fact, one of them is here already. Hello, Highspirits.
Hi.
Tell us, in this race, you're like level 11 or 12, and your strength is insane. What were you thinking in terms of how to plan out the rest of the seed?
Just Hulk smash. That's it. And he could have won with the broadsword. I see jkoper did, but stupid 49 and 50 back to back.
Yeah, I think your defense power was only 72, and so I think he could have bit for up to 52, the Dragon Lord. But yeah, you did
52.
get unlucky timing there.
Yeah, and now we have jkoper here in the chat. jkoper, that was a fine race. It just things didn't work out for you in the end. I'm guessing you fell victim to what me and Lorgon thought was going to be the real red dragon of this seed, and that was the geography.
I guess, maybe. I don't know about that. I don't know. I thought I made several pretty bad errors, not related to navigation or anything, just some poor decision-making at moments that easily totaled at least a couple minutes. So, I don't know. Feeling a little sleepy, so, but, I don't know how Highspirits felt, but I felt like this should have been much faster.
I found Cole and Catelyn very, very late.
Yeah,
it was
same
the
here.
last part that I searched.
Yep.
But I ended up dying on the Dragon Lord to insanely high melee rolls, so
Yeah.
I was kind of a little annoyed when I got hit for 45 and 50 back to back.
What level did you finish at?
14.
Okay.
I could have finished at 13, but I didn't want to fight the armored knights on the way. I didn't want to run from the armored knights on the way down, so I just fought them, and I ended up leveling off.
Yeah, I actually went all the way to 16, just because it seemed like it'd be easier to just get a level fast and maybe get a little more agility or something.
Yeah, I see you have a little bit more than I do.
Yeah. Like on the overworld, I was having trouble running from like the regular knights, and that seemed a little absurd. So it's like, what is Charlotte gonna be like if this is like this now on the overworld? So yeah, I even despite 2 extra levels, I got close, but that obviously made my Dragon Lord fight much easier, of course. So
yeah, did you check the treasury for the sword?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I went with the broadsword, and I should have won, but I got horrible luck. And then the second time, I'm like, forget that. I'm getting the Erdrick sword, and I'm just gonna destroy him for taking me off with those damage rolls. And he still was rolling in the 50s my second attempt.
So you got the Erdrick sword?
Yeah, I figured, what the hell, I'm just gonna go get it. And I ended up picking
vanilla
it up because I was expecting to burn another heal more or two on the way down, but I ended up having a much better ride and not getting destroyed by armored knights on the way down the second time. I was actually hoping for red dragons and blue dragons because they were easy, but there weren't any in Charlotte.
Yeah. I don't know if I saw any in Charlotte either. So the sword was vanilla then, I guess?
Yep, it was judge's table. Whoever won that one.
Yeah, I didn't go to the tablet cave.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had missed one of the caves somewhere along. I couldn't remember for sure, so
No.
you weren't going to be 100% certain about the location of the sword. And so when you were doing a little bit of extra grinding, I was wondering if you were thinking potentially you had to win with the broadsword, and so you needed that a little bit of extra cushion.
Yeah, I didn't miss the cave. I saw it and I chose not to go in it. I figured it was either going to be the tablet cave, which I didn't want to spend the time going through, or if it was the token cave, then I'd just come back to.
You know what?
Not token, but the drop cave, whatever.
Yeah. You know what was disappointing about this seed is we could have killed red dragons like from the beginning of the seed, but we couldn't because they had stop spell, just like the blue dragon. So it's like we had so much strength, even though we were punching things, and we could have killed everything in the seed, but it all had Dragon Lord Breath or stop spell. It's like, well, you can't do anything until you can find the armor.
I was commenting at some point in the middle of the seed. I think it was around 32 minutes in. I don't recall ever seeing a seed where you see a player intentionally fighting an armored knight with a bamboo pole to win a half an hour into the seed.
It's good experience. Had to go for it. I mean, it's the only thing that didn't have stop spell or hurt more or dragon. Well, I had hurt more, but it didn't have Dragon Lord Breath or stop spell. So it's like it's the only thing I can kill, so I might as well go.
Yeah, and it worked. So, and congratulations to you, Highspirits. You're going to be 4-0. So rarefied air. And just to let everybody know that there is another race coming up in a few minutes from now. We're getting set up for Sparkover versus who's Sparkover versus Zarnax 42.
And so that's another race with some really great runners. And so if you like the high quality action you just saw, you're going to be able to see more right here coming up in a little bit on RPG Limit Break. But yeah, just as a reminder, a great show put on today by Highspirits and jkoper. So by all means, give those guys a follow.
And we also should get follows for Lord of the Synth and High Rofolos and Janice as well.
Yeah, I think Janice Zeal was our tracker today, and yeah, Lord of the Synth was our restreamer. Yeah, always appreciate it. It takes a lot of people to put together these restreams, but they've been super fun to watch. We've had, I think, like 31 restreams per week, basically, for each of the last 4 weeks of the tournament, which is an insane number of broadcasts. And somehow Well, 31 matches anyway. Sometimes there have been quads, so maybe not quite as many restreams, but a lot of volunteers putting in a lot of hard work and time to make all these matches available, and I've really enjoyed watching.
I've been enjoying watching too. I've been enjoying competing in these races, and you're gonna have fun tomorrow, Lorgon, because you're gonna be racing tomorrow at 11:30, pending restream.
Yeah, it would be 2:30 in the Eastern, 11:30 Pacific. So kind of earlier in the day, Rye Guy and I, that was a time that was going to work for both of us. And since we're both 3-0, we were talking about the fact that when you're 3-0 and already made it to the brackets, you can play a little bit more fast and loose. We're playing around with the various options that are available in the randomizer. We're going to be playing Big Swamp, Short Charlock, no keys. So a bit of a variation on the usual kind of things. But Big Swamp, I think, is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that's why right now I'm calling out Mr. Holmes. If I draw you next week, me and you got to do challenge level 5 race, because I know you're 4-0 and I know you'll be up for it. So I'm calling you out now, Holmes. If we get drawn, we got to do challenge level 5 race.
Highspirits, for those not know what challenge level 5 is, what is challenge level 5?
Challenge level 5 takes all of the numbers out of the game, so all you see is text. That means you have to figure out everything when it comes to how much like how much HP, MP, strength, agility, all of that stuff is you have to figure it out just off your knowledge of the game and what you have.
And how does that work in terms of if there's coordinates that you actually need to go discover if you can't see the actual digits on the screen?
That might be an issue that I think we have to check to make sure if it works or not first. If not, we could do something like Big Swamp Chaos.
That would be fun to watch. But it looks like me and Lorgon, we're going to have to leave our seats, so to speak, so our next pair of commentators can go, Z-Man and Squeege. We're going to call the Spark over Zarnax race.
But thanks for the race, jkoper, and got my revenge this year since you knocked me out of the brackets last year.
Yeah, I guess this one doesn't mean as much, but anyway, GG. Hope we get that race next week.
All right, and stay tuned for this race that's shaping up on the screen right now.